3.
Ladies and gentlemen, probably some ladies up here. I probably just need to say, gentlemen, what's up? What's up, motherfuckers? It's good to have you. I'm so honored to be in your presence again for yet another ManUp Live. Man, I'm excited about this opportunity. I'm excited about fellowshipping with you, and I'm excited about your potential. I believe in you. I believe in you. I know that you're on your way to something incredible, and I know sometimes, especially with this pandemic, you know, we have hit some real roadblocks. But I want to say this, and then I just kind of want to lay out our evening for tonight. First of all, if you're on the YouTube page, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube page. All right, subscribe, hit that bell, subscribe, hit that bell. All right, one more time for those that go, subscribe, hit that bell. That way you can make sure that whenever we have some stuff going on, you can be notified immediately. As well as if you're on, Facebook, there you go, subscribe. I don't know if it's a bell on Facebook, but subscribe, and there you go. But I want to share this with you, that everything is energy. Everything, family, everything is energy. And I think that what we end up doing is we lose sight of that. And energy, and this is like quantum physics maybe, or maybe at the very least some kind of science, that energy attracts the same type of energy. All right, it's the same type of energy attracts the same type of energy. All right, so if your energy is real low and you're frustrated and you kind of in your feelings about maybe losing your job, in your feelings about where you are right now, the sad part about that is that you're going to continue to attract to you stuff that has that same level of, his word, frequency of energy. All right? So what I want to say to you today in this call, man, get your energy up. And I'm going to help you today get your energy up. Because what we're going to do is we're going to infuse you with some hope, with some possibilities, with some power. Because I don't care what you're dealing with. Watch this. You see how fresh my haircut is? And I think it's fresh. So my car, never done this before, started acting up. My cell phone, died. Granted, I talked the juice out, but every store I went to didn't have a cell phone charger. So it's always something that's going to be snatching at and want to take the energy. But do not let the day win. Do not let your circumstances win. You know why? Because you're a whole lot better than that. And because I believe in you, and more importantly, God believes in you today, we got a really special guest. I want you to get your questions lined up in the comment section. If you want to ask a question to my guest that's here or to myself, we're willing to do that. This is a real fellowship. And to my ladies that's out there, ladies, I know y'all got on this. I'm gonna ask that you just kind of watch and be silent. Can I say that in this culture? Just for the brothers, because I want them to speak up, and I want to be able to hear from them. We'll have a question and answer session a little later on. All right, so my guest today, I can honestly say, and I know my wife is watching this too, I can honestly say that if it were not for him and God, I probably wouldn't be a lot of things. Married is probably somewhere near the top of that list. But we had a conversation, we've had conversations, we've connected him, my wife, by themselves, us by ourselves, all of us together. And I'm going to tell you something. When you can talk to somebody and talk it out and just kind of hash it out, and watch this. Tell the truth. Don't hide. It makes all the difference in the world. I've got my personal therapist here. He is a licensed psychotherapist. It's a very long name. He's never given me a pill or nothing. Not that maybe he couldn't, but I ain't got it. Make some noise. We got noise? This ain't plugged in. Kind of got to plug this in. Make some noise for my dude, my therapist, Dr. Lewis Kola. How you doing, sir?
I am doing excellent, and it's wonderful to be with you here tonight. I am excited for this amazing opportunity to be here tonight. And I know we have a number of people listening to us.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for us to get into this and get into some exchange with each other and get into some exchange with brothers that are out there. So I'm really, really excited to be here with you tonight.
Good stuff, man. I never asked you what a licensed psychotherapist is. And let's fix this mic for him so he don't have to keep leaning in. Yeah, I never asked you what a licensed psychotherapist is. Like, what is a psychotherapist? It makes me feel like, wow, I've been going to a psychotherapist.
Well, actually, the psychotherapist is someone who particularly is trained in the field of psychology and counseling and is licensed in the state of Georgia or whichever state that person is practicing in. So psychotherapist oftentimes is used synonymously with therapists, counselors, and things of that nature. The difference between a psychologist is usually a person that has a PhD and is licensed to practice in the state of Georgia or whichever state that person is practicing in. And for those of us that are licensed clinicians, you can be either professional counselor, or you can be marriage and family therapist, or you can be a clinical social worker that are licensed. You can then refer to yourself as a psychotherapist, particularly if you're doing some work with individual couples and family covering a range of issues.
Spoken just like a psychotherapist. Like, that's pretty
Is
good.
that right?
Hey, let me ask you something, man. I say this, that it is difficult being a man. And then when I say that, sometimes the sisters will say, well, it's difficult being a woman as well. And I would say that it's a different kind of difficult. Mm-hmm. Would you agree that being a man and an effective man in this culture, would you agree that that is a statement that is, I don't want to say true, but sort of factual? It's difficult in this culture being a man.
I cannot agree with you more, but I will quickly echo the fact that it's actually difficult to be a human being, really. And not only does, different spiritual traditions, testify to that, but I think, psychologists will testify to that, as well, that, if you think about it, coming into the world in of itself has some challenges that come with it, right?
Violence, actually, quite
exactly,
frankly. Wow.
The birthing process, and the Christian tradition that I'm quite familiar with, says something about, in this life, you will have what? Trials and tribulations, and so how we navigate those trials and tribulations is the key. So yes, I'm in agreement with you that particularly in this culture where we live here in America, being a man and being a black man is not an easy feat, and we can go into that a little bit more as we continue this, dialogue with each other. But yes, I agree with you. Really, it is not an easy feat. You can be any kind of man you choose to be, but in order to be an effective, productive, man of significance, it is not an easy thing, but it is possible, like you said. Yeah. So how we got there and support each other and get the right resources that we need in order to become the man that God destined us to be. And I think that is the invitation that's been extended to each and every one of us.
So why do you think that it is difficult? I mean, I have my own thoughts, but why do you think that it is difficult for guys to be transparent with each other? Because most of the things that I struggled with, most of the people, once I came to age, they struggle with the same things. Absolutely. I mean, I dealt with, a lot. So I'm gonna be real. You know my stories. That's I'm just going, for the sake of the, the camera, I'm just going to be, I'm not going to be all the way real. I'm just going to be, put a little something on it, a little sauce on it. But, I've dealt with infidelity. Mm-hmm. I've dealt with, I would say, depression. I've dealt with a lot of stuff that I just would not be willing to do like I just did. I wouldn't be willing to tell anybody about, what I'm struggling with. Women get together, they talk, they go to the bathroom and talk. They walk to the store and talk. Like, that's what women do. But guys, I think that if we did more of it, maybe not like them,
I think you're right.
But if we did more of it, then we would realize that a lot of the struggles that we are experiencing, we really wouldn't have to experience them the same way, because you got somebody that's been through it before. Why do we shut down so much?
Well, I think that is another great question, Mr. Boyd. So let's think about that, for a moment. actually was one of Sigmund Freud's earlier patients that actually coined the phrase "talk and kill." That psychotherapy is talk and cure. Exactly. That as you talk, in a very open, safe environment, you are actually participating in your own cure, in your own healing, in your own growth, in your own development. Now, your question is, why is it that it's so difficult for us as men, and in this context, particularly as Black men, to be open, honest, and transparent with each other and with our significant others? I think we have to go back to how we are raised, how we are socialized in this particular culture. Okay. I'll tell you this quick. I remember seeing, I think it was a cartoon some years ago, right? This brother and his sister or his significant other had a dispute. They had a conflict. And she went, gathered the sister together, and she talked it through, and they cried, and they hugged, and they embraced each other, and she went away feeling lighter, feeling better, ready to re-engage our relationship. Hey. The brother went out with his friends, and they went drinking and doing all kinds of stuff, and it was like 2 minutes to go. He was like, man, I don't know if I want to go home. And they said, what's going on? I said, man, I'm having some issues with my significant other. And brother said, you too. But they never talk about it, right? So my point here is this. I think the way we've been socialized, particularly in this culture as men, and maybe other culture as well, is that it is not okay for us to be vulnerable. It's not okay for us to be transparent. It's not okay for us to feel that we can express the true feelings that we have, because somehow it makes us look weak.
It's a sign of weakness.
Exactly. And it makes us feel like, somebody else is going to use our weakness against us. So think about it. Not only does it make us feel like we're weak, but there is also fear that my weakness can be used against me. So therefore, there is no need for me to expose my vulnerability to other people. And I think that has had tremendous negative impact, not only in our relationship, I also think in our psychological processes, as well as in our relationship with God.
I'm gonna be honest though, Dr. Kola, I see that as if you tell a man, hey man, this is where it hurts, I'm afraid. Typically, you are, in my experience, you are more embraced. It's like, man, I'm glad you said that. Even if they don't tell you it's them, they'll say something like, well, yeah, man, I know what you mean. I feel you. It is women, in my experience, what I've seen, that get a little catty, and you kind of talk about you and that kind of thing. That's what I've seen. Now, I may be wrong. I often am. I'm just saying that that's what I have seen. But if guys would just do that, bruh, if they would just say, hey, man, honestly, bruh, I'm at the crib. I'm a little hungry, and I ain't talking about food. And I mean, hey, such and such at work got one more time. She got one more time to sashay. She got one more time to sashay through. And I'm gonna say something. Then you will, if you open up, when you say that to guys get it. Sometimes they will co-sign. They'll be like, man, I'm glad you said that, because I got one at my job too, bruh. But then there are others, depending on how diverse the room is, they'll say, yeah, been there, done that. And you can do it. Let me tell you what's going to happen, though. You feel me? Which is why I think that it is important for us to have a community where we can be 100% real, 100% transparent.
Absolutely.
And be able to tell each other the truth. I say it like this. Everybody needs 3 people. You need a mentor, somebody that you can learn from. You need a mentee, somebody that learns from you.
That's right.
Because it's that pulling.
That's right.
See, when you have to be responsible to someone, that's a different pull than being responsible for someone.
I agree.
But then you also got to have somebody that you walk beside.
That's right.
That's somebody that know where the bodies are buried.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Okay. Dr. Kola. Okay. All right. I ain't never seen that laugh. Okay. All right. You got them. Okay. But what we many times often do is we just kind of stick with that partner. We just have that co-laborer. We don't put ourselves out there often to be needed by someone or to be responsible to someone. And I would like to talk about what do we call it? The pathology, I guess, the mindset of that guy.
So again, I cannot agree with you more. The necessity of having people that journey with us in this life, that we're not designed, we're not created to go through this life in isolation or by ourselves. In fact, an isolated human being is an anathema. It's a contradiction in times, really. We are at our best when we are meaningfully connected with relationships. So in this sense, you're talking about relationship where somebody is pouring into us, and relationship in which we're pouring into someone else, and relationship in which there is some kind of mutuality, some lateral relationship. And I think when we are able to have those, right, what tends to happen is we flourish.
Yeah.
Again, the question that we have to wrestle with is, what is it that prevents us as men, as black men, from being able to actually seek out this type of relationship, right? Relationship where somebody is pouring into us without feeling like we're weak, or without feeling that we have somehow we have deficit, that we can welcome the opportunity for somebody to pour into us. I think we do it in our churches, because what pastors do every Sunday or even Wednesday, I know my pastor does that, is we position ourselves to be poured into. But then what is important is also to find another brother that we can pour into, and find another brother, to use your phrase, that know where the what?
Bodies
are buried. So we need that, really.
Yeah.
But the core issue that I think you're identifying is the importance and the value of having relationships in our life. You know, relationship where we are known, where we are seen, and where we are heard. And when we have that, we begin really to develop what I call psychological fortitude, and even spiritual fortitude, that we get a little wings, you know, to us, that can enable us to fly and to be our very best.
So it's a core need to be known, to be known, yes, to feel seen, and to feel heard.
Absolutely.
So when we don't feel known, we don't feel seen, and we don't feel heard, then what?
Actually, I think it's very, very difficult for us to move into the destiny that God has planned for us. Really, there's something. It's almost like your wings feel clipped. You know, when you're not in an environment, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's with friends, where you don't think that you're known, where you don't think that you're heard, where you don't think that you're seen. You know, we're just not at our best. And of course, these three categories that we're talking about, the sense of being known, being seen, and being heard, is really predicated on feeling safe. Because if I don't feel safe, guess what? I am not going to let you see me. If I don't feel safe, I'm not going to allow you to even hear what I have in my heart. And if I don't feel safe, guess what? I am not going to allow you to actually get close to me. Now we're talking about intimacy. You see how we're building this up?
Bro, that's good, though.
Because really the ability to be seen, to be heard, and to be, what is the third one? To be seen, to be heard. Exactly.
Seen,
and
heard,
to be known.
and to be known.
Exactly.
Known, that's a big one.
Known, exactly.
So let's take this curve then, since we're over there.
Okay.
If that is the case, or since that's the case, to be known, to feel known, to feel seen, and to feel heard.
Yes.
If you were in a relationship, let's say a romantic relationship, and you don't feel known, you don't feel seen, you don't feel heard, how do you go about getting known, feeling seen, feeling heard, other than what I know I used to do? Because, you know, typically if the answer is to knock on the door, you knock, you wait for an answer. But sometimes I would get impatient. I'm gonna knock on the door, but if you haven't noticed, I got a little strength on me. I can open that door if I want to. Yeah. Not open the door. You don't open the door? Now I'm trying to impose my will, trying to make it happen, and then it just causes more damage. So now I got the damage of I didn't feel known, seen, or heard. Now I busted in there saying, why you ain't knowing me, seeing me, or hearing me? And now it's just worse. How do you get to open that door to know you, see, and hear you?
Actually, you know, So really the question that you're raising is the question I think not only do I encounter this on a daily basis sitting with individual couples and families with range of issues, but I also believe that those people out there that do similar work as I do encounter this. Now, I think we live in an environment, Mr. Bo, where we want things when we want it, how we want it, the way we want it.
Is there something wrong with that?
I really do. I think the mentality of quick, and fast and not wanting to wait to get that which our heart desires for, oftentimes actually prevents us from getting the things that our heart is deeply longing for. And I give you a good example,
you
right?
You got to give me an example because
exactly.
I'm pushing back a little bit.
I'd love to hear that. So think about it, right? If you and your partner have a particular dynamics that's been going on for quite some time, right? And all of a sudden, you gain some insight in which you're gradually beginning to see the value of being known, being seen, and being heard. And then you try it one time and you say, see, she didn't even hear me. And then you give up.
Yeah.
Right? You said it a moment ago, the importance of persistency, right? That to not just give up because you tried it one time and she didn't hear you, she didn't see you, or she didn't quite recognize you, and then you give up, right? And that is one of the things that I encounter, particularly doing couples work, right? We don't want to do the work. We want to get what our heart is desiring for without any effort, without any work, without any practice or any discipline. And you and I know this. Anything that is worth having,
it's worth working for.
Come on now.
However, if I may, if I may.
Yes, sir.
One of the challenges is that if that recipe is the best recipe, sometimes we lose faith in that recipe for this person. You understand what I'm saying? So that might work for some people.
Sure.
But for this situation, maybe it doesn't. And then the other part of that is some of us, we do have that A-type personality. No, I ain't got what I'm waiting for. Like, why I gotta wait? Because I will qualify for anything I need to qualify for, as long as you don't make me wait. If you make me wait, then, because I don't wait outside of the house. Outside of the house, if it needs to be done, I'm gonna work hard and I'm gonna get it.
Sure.
If I need to earn it, I'm gonna work as hard as I can to earn it. But no, I don't accept no. But why is it necessary for me to accept no in the house?
So
not that I'm saying, with a camera, this one, not that I'm saying it's me.
No, it's not.
I'm telling you, I'm not saying it's me. All right, what we're not gonna do is got to deal with this conversation. We're not doing that.
So really, you're raising some questions I think that a lot of brothers out there could resonate with and could identify with, right? And this is what I'd like for us to examine together. Really.
No, he's about to turn that curve. Whenever he do that, it's about to get real
but
crazy.
But think about it. You said it at the beginning of our conversation this evening. You said it's all about energy, right? And that energy attracts energy, right? See, what we often don't consider is that if I'm getting a particular reaction from my significant other, what is it that I'm contributing to that reaction? Because you cannot understand human relationship in isolation.
Okay, say that again, because
you cannot understand human dynamics in isolation from one single person's perspective. There got to be something that I am conveying, or the way I'm conveying that, or something that I'm doing that might be contributing for me getting what I get or not getting what I desire. And so that is the piece that we oftentimes don't look at. We are easy to say what the other person is not doing, but oftentimes we don't spend sufficient time examining what is my contribution to the dynamics of my relationship.
But isn't that difference, Dr. Kola, between a 5% contribution and a 75% contribution? My challenge was, we've done. So like with Ivy, right? All right, I know I did it. I know I said it. I know, but come on. Really? It's like me saying, all right, so I kind of hit you with this water bottle and you hit me with a brick. Really? Yeah, you shouldn't have hit me. I wouldn't have hit you. It's different. It ain't different. It ain't. How you figure it ain't different? So I'm saying, like, there's like a lot of guys, and I talk to a lot of brothers, and I throw myself under the bus a lot when, honestly, God has been good. You know that. But I throw myself under the bus because I want to speak for them. That person that says, yeah, I had that relationship with her. I had that extra conversation with her, but don't act like I haven't been telling you all along I need ... You didn't hear me. And now, is it true that you can just slip up into something? Because some people say you can't slip up into nothing. I don't know if that's true or not. Can you slip up into something?
I think so.
So look in that camera and tell the peoples that they can slip up and, okay, I just want to make sure.
In fact, I'll put it in a different way. Good men oftentimes behave badly, and because of their bad behavior does not make them bad men. I think it's important for us to recognize that.
That's a distinction that is very difficult to embrace.
Oftentimes behave badly, and because of their bad behavior, that does not mean that they are bad people. I really do. I think it's important for us to recognize that.
So what the Bible says. The Bible says, though a just man falls.
That's right.
7 times.
So
how did a just man fall?
Because look at that. Just man. It's a man. It's a human being with vulnerability, with imperfections, with brokenness. And I think this is what happens, Mr. Bo. It's like sometimes we're not even willing to examine those areas of brokenness and vulnerability that we have as men and as human beings. And so we go from one relationship to the other, one job to the other, not taking honest look and honest examination about ourselves and see what it is that we need to attend to so that the dynamics of our lives and relationship can begin to change and to be transformed and to heal. So you are right, really. Good men, I want to say that one more time, oftentimes behave badly, but that doesn't make them bad people.
So it's seeing past the behavior and seeing the person, which goes to the point, do you see me or do you see what I did or what I do? Okay?
Exactly.
It's a difference. I want to ask you this, and it's a loaded question. It's a loaded question, and it's steeped with so much, but a lot of guys have this question. Why can't we get what we want? It feels like, and I'm going to move out of relationships here. We got a lot to cover.
That's all right.
In a marriage, people say stuff like, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to disagree with that. And maybe I'm just young enough or, ignorant enough to say that. But I think that if you just center everything in that relationship around that woman, I feel like you're leaving some significant life on the table. Significant life. Let me give you an example, personal example. In raising my son, the 18-year-old, well, he's 18 now, there were times in which I pulled up because to infuse my will, which is a little more tough, it's a little more grim, it would mean that not only would he be upset with me, she's going to be upset with me too. She's upset with me. That has a different level of ramifications. That's true. So I'm saying, hey, you just do your thing. But this is when they, 6, 7, 8. But at 18 now, I see, maybe I shouldn't have did that. Maybe shouldn't have gave in, because what I said was correct. The way I parent is different than the way she parents. Sure. And it's a lot of guys that are understanding what I'm saying. Like, for the sake of peace, you have chosen to be quiet. For the sake of peace, you've chosen to say, well, I'm just going to let her do her thing. But for the sake of peace, you have forfeited your peace. So is everything good now? Because she has peace? Come on, Doc, talk to me.
Yeah. So it's always interesting to
You about to fix me. See, when you do that, I know you about to comb my hair. I feel it already. But
Mr. Bo, it's always important to take each situation within its own context.
Okay.
Because no two relationships are the same. None.
Right.
So in fact, there are some relationships in which if mama ain't happy and nobody's happy, but there's some that if daddy ain't happy and nobody's happy. And I think a lot of the time what we tend to do, we do a lot of generalization. We assume that what works in one situation, therefore it must work in all situations. One of my a professor who has really influenced my thinking on this, he has this concept in which he says that every human being is like any other human being. And every human being is like some other human being. And every human being is like no other human being. Those are three categories.
That covers it all, though.
Exactly. So there's some things that I share as a human being with all of humanity. There's some things as a black man that I share with certain men. There's some things that I don't share with anyone else that is unique to who I am. And so is the same thing with our relationship. All relationships are not the same. I think the most important thing is for us to become what I call relationally literate.
Relationally literate.
Exactly. And that's sometimes that's what doesn't happen. We have not sufficiently learned to study what are the things that inform how we show up in all of our relationships. What are the experiences? What are the relationships? What are the circumstances that are shaped and form you, and then in return shape the way you show up in your relationship? If you know that about yourself, right? Then you are able to navigate certain things. Let me give you a good example. I am not good mechanically. I mean, I'm clueless. I drive my car. I know nothing about how that car runs. I just drive that car, right? But imagine if you are so good in knowing the engine of your car. And we can use engine as a metaphor for our minds.
Yeah.
If you know the engine of your car, any little sound that comes out of that car, you can say, oh, I know what that is. That's the radiator.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what that is. That is the alternator. I know. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that is knowing our minds. And the mind is not constituted in a vacuum. Really, the content of your mind is based on experiences, relationships, circumstances that you have had over the course of your life. All of these things inform the way your mind works. And the more you know about your history, your experiences, your relationship, and situations that have shaped you, the more you can know the functioning of your own mind. And really, my belief is that the more actually that I know about myself, it gives me opportunity or a pathway to actually know someone else. If I don't know myself, remember how we say it all the time, Mr. Bo, we said, if I don't love me, how can I love you?
Yeah, okay.
If I don't know me, how can I know you? I'm clueless about my own inner life. How am I going to understand you? You see how we get in trouble with all our relationships. And a lot of the time, we're not curious enough in terms of trying to understand ourselves and how we show up in all the different relationships in our life. Self-knowledge is one of the most powerful things that you can have. It's easy to know other people, but knowing yourself, brother, is powerful.
Yeah. Some good stuff, man. That's some good stuff. Let me use the same example that you had. Let's talk about knowing mechanics and knowing about a car. If you were raised in a household where that was lauded as the apex, to be a mechanic, or even not even being a mechanic by a title, but you know about a car, you can fix the alternator. You can. Man, the water pump went out. Oh, don't worry about it. I can fix it. Look at that. Lewis fixed that water pump. And if that's the big thing that gives you value when you were raised, can you imagine what it's like now? You who do not know how to fix a car,
That's right.
Your identity is around something that you don't do well. Let's go there. Because a lot of us, when it comes down to being the dominant, powerful, money driven, well dressed, most important person in the room. A few of us are like that. A lot of us aren't.
Right.
But if your identity or what you think is right is that person, but you're not that, maybe you may be en route to it, but you're not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find your identity and be okay with where you are, or be okay with the journey?
Yeah. Again, let me see if I can approach the question that you're raising, because really what you're getting at is the notion that I oftentimes refer to as self-acceptance.
Self-acceptance.
Right. For many years, I worked in the field of substance abuse. Right. Working with individuals that struggle with alcohol problems, drug problems, and other form of addiction. Whether it's substance addiction or process addiction, i.e., sex addiction is considered process addiction.
That's a thing?
Yes, that's a thing. That's a thing.
How do you know you got it? Because
I'm
going to go back to it. Because you said that the top of my spirit said, wait a minute, let's ask the
come
doctor
back to that.
what's going on.
So in the field of addiction, one of the most important instruments of healing and recovery is the 12-step program. The 12-step program has helped so many millions of people to go from the dark night of the soul of addiction, to the bright light of recovery. And in the 12-step program, the only way, I hope I'm not overemphasizing that, the only way in which you can begin successful recovery is by first accepting that you got a problem.
Okay.
That you are an alcoholic, you are a drug addict, and the moment that you can genuinely and honestly accept that fact, you open potentially the door of healing and recovery.
So who's to say that you have a problem? I mean, who's supposed to say it's a problem?
Well, I think that's something that one has to identify for oneself, because you're right. Oftentimes, family members can look at you and say, "You got problem."
Yeah.
And what is interesting with the field of addiction is that if you think I got a problem, if I don't think I got a problem, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing because I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah.
The point that I wish to make, however, is that recovery and healing and transformation would not begin until you first accept the reality and the fact that you have a problem. Acceptance is the beginning of recovery. Not the end, but the beginning of recovery. And I think the same thing can be said in terms of ourselves. If I do not accept me, that is the point that you're making early on, how can I accept you? And if I don't know me, now coming back to knowing, how can I accept me? You cannot accept that which you don't know. So you see how we're building this building block. The necessity of knowing oneself potentially could lead to accepting oneself. And if you don't accept yourself, guess what? You open all kinds of pathway for destruction. If you don't accept yourself, you cannot be loving towards yourself. You cannot be compassionate towards yourself. You cannot be kind towards yourself. You cannot be graceful towards yourself, because you have to accept.
Yeah, but okay, so that sounds lofty to me.
Yes.
Accept yourself. Okay, so all right, okay. Let me just throw this out there.
Okay.
So say, hey man, I'm in love with 2 women. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm just going to accept that. Hey, you know what, man? I'm never really going to be that person that does that. I'm just going to accept it, man. That's me. Like, how much truth is in that? So not that. All right. Because what we're not going to do, we're not going to get, okay.
But you notice what the point that you just made, right? Early on, I said that good men oftentimes behave badly. And the goal is not to associate only our behavior with who we are. Because I'm in love with 2 women, as you just indicated, it's not about self-acceptance. Right? It's a choice that you're making. When I'm talking about acceptance, I'm talking in terms of the essence of who you are. The story that you bring into the table, the strength that you bring, the woundedness, the injury that you have endured over the course of your life, whether from your family of origin or from the environment where you grew up. Accepting that, accepting the essence of who you are, no matter what it is, good, bad, indifference, really begin to open the pathway for healing, recovery, and connection with yourself.
How you know what's real though? How you know what's real, and how do you know what's been given to you? You know, like, hey, I don't like, this particular type of person, or I just intrinsically, man, I'm not a morning person. But everybody says, the most successful people, they get up early morning. But me, man, I wake up, I'm most alive at night. So there's a thing where you're reaching for something, Doc. But how do you know, like, what you have is to be accepted or to be transformed, or in some cases thrown away? That's a good question. I wait a minute, hold on. I need to. That's a good question.
It is a good question, and in fact, that is one of the reasons why I have some ambivalent relationship with self-help books.
Oh,
self-help books are very useful, and they can open pathway for insight, and understanding. But remember now that the person who wrote the book never met you. They've never seen you. They've never listened to you. They don't know your story. So you can learn something from them, but you cannot take everything wholesale. And again, it goes back to what you're saying here, right? That every situation is different. As a psychotherapist, there is no single sessions that is the same. There is no single client that walks into my office that is the same. My goal is to maintain a level of curiosity and interest in trying to understand this person to the best of my ability, so that I can support them in the path towards their growth, their development, and their healing. I cannot assume because there's a particular ideas or concept or technique, or intervention that work with you, therefore is going to work with someone else. I have to be able to understand you within the context of your own story, your own life, your own relationship, and try to tailor an intervention that will be hopefully, effective and workable for you. And so I think a lot of the time, there's a lot of generalization that we do in our community. We see something that works in one place and we assume right, therefore it has to work in other places.
Yeah.
Really. And that for me can be pretty dangerous. That's what I call kind of cookie cutter, situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's according to our own experiences that we say what's right and what's wrong.
Exactly.
I saw this couple. They really, for 30 years, maybe they were married.
Yes.
They saw each other every weekend. He was on the road Monday through Friday.
There you go.
And they saw each other only on the weekend. And they were married for 30 years. Now, there are some people, they were like, man, you already know. I wish they would,
That's right.
So you don't really know what works. So, but also that's the challenge.
Yes.
When you're dealing with men, though.
Yes.
Because they'll say, "Yeah, man, that works for you, but that may not necessarily work for me, or that ain't really necessarily something for me." I don't really. How do you know when it's something that you need to challenge yourself with and step up to the plate, or when it's something that genuinely is not for you? And I don't need to keep beating this dead horse, but.
I think really, I don't think you are really. I don't think you're beating the dead horse. Goes back to knowing yourself. So, for example, I know some of my defenses. My kids will tell you, right, that oftentimes when I feel fear or when I'm scared, I can easily go into my professorial mode. Right, I go into my head.
Yeah.
Well, I know myself enough to know that that's one of the defenses that I employ. Intellectualization. So when I go there, I know what is going on. Now, I'm not always successful in being able to modulate or to regulate that or to even fix it, but I'm aware of that's one of the defenses that I employ. That has to do with knowing myself. For some people, like you just said, their defenses is that resistance. Anything that potentially could come into them to bring about change, guess what? No, that's not for me. So knowing yourself and knowing the type of defenses that you employ in relationship, in life, will help you to beginning to say, oh, that's my stuff, And I can tell you this, being able to say, that's my stuff, goes a mighty long way in relationship, because a lot of the time we mix somebody else's stuff with our stuff and our stuff with somebody else's stuff. But being able to know what belongs to us and what belongs to another person, there's a saying that good fences, they make good neighbors. When you know where your property ends and where my property begins, we don't have to get into a squabble with each other. That's about boundary.
Yeah. But we're just scared, man. Honestly, we are very afraid sometimes of. Sometimes I get it. It is a desire for us to be seen.
Yes.
But then there's also sometimes that fear that comes from, if I let you see me,
yes,
are you gonna be good with that, or do I just need to stick with this whole nebulous kind of, I don't know if that's you representative situation?
So I really I'm glad that you keep coming back to this notion of being seen, being heard, and being known.
Yeah.
So really, because I think it's a foundation really for not only meaningful relationship, but close and intimate relationship. So I'll give you a good example. Some years ago, it's been quite a while now, I worked with a gentleman, right? And when he first came to see me, right, he was depressed, he was anxious. As a result of that, he was isolating himself, right? Had very little friends, if at all, and had very meaningful interpersonal relationship in his life, right? It's a long story, but as he and I continued to work together, right? When he first came to see me, the focus was, the depression and the anxiety, and of course, the behavior that ensued with those two, clinical issues, which is isolation, lack of meaningful relationship. But really, as he and I beginning to explore what is really going on, what we discovered was that he has a cognitive, process, a way of thinking about himself and life, which says that if people knew me, they won't like me. Think about that for a moment. If the content of my thought is that if people knew me, they won't like me, then why would I want to open up to you?
So he feels like a fraud.
That is one possibility. Now, without going into detail, right, this person, was given to be raised by his mother when he was very little. And so the way that he experienced that was that he wasn't wanted. And that has deeply shaped his sense of identity, his sense of self, that led to this way of thinking that if people knew me, guess what? They will reject me. They will abandon me. They won't like me. So why will I need to invest my energy in being known, being seen, being heard, when I already have the template that says, that's danger, that's dangerous zone, don't go there. And of course, he and I were able to walk through that, to the extent that gradually is beginning to allow himself to be known, to be seen, and to be heard, which is providing him hopefully with opportunity to have, meaningful interpersonal relationship. But I hope you see where I'm going.
This is good. Here. This is so good. This is amazingly good, because there are the errant phrase, the errant statement when you are younger can become an avalanche. I'm gonna give you an example. Yes, sir. So maybe I'm young. We're going to North Carolina, all right? And my cousins, Trisha and Kevin and Lord have mercy, my other cousin's name. Anyway, so we're going to their house, Trevor, all right? So my brother Ray is the more gregarious life of the party. He was like that dude. He's a year older than me, a year some change. And so he was the one that was very extroverted. Can be extroverted a little bit, not so much though. I kind of go in when I need to, So we get to the house and I'm excited to see everybody. Walk in the house. They's like, Keith, hey, what's up, Keith? Hey, ain't nothing, I'm good. So they still looking at the door. They said, hey, where's Ray? I said, oh, no, he wasn't able to make it. And it was these words that haunted me for a very long time. They said, well, why did you come then?
Oh, wow.
Huh? See? And it cut me in a way, and it told me that I wasn't enough. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't him. So that's one cut. But so what I'm saying is that now when you have another cut, it even got to be in that same category.
You're absolutely
It's like your brain, and you can help me with this,
You're absolutely
tells
right.
you, hey, you know that's like this, right?
Absolutely.
And so now you start to feel like, I got to do all this extra stuff so I can be enough.
Absolutely.
And if anybody ever gives you that look, or that look that says, in your mind, they think I'm not enough. Okay, I gotta do something. I gotta see. And it's little things like that. So when you talk about being self-aware, man, I don't know where we even as men begin to start taking inventory about that, because some of this stuff is so ingrained in our personalities. Like, I know when I'm around somebody that's got like the Napoleon syndrome or complex, but they don't see it.
They don't.
So how do you see yourself?
Well, I really wanted to commend you, because I think you're modeling, even in this very moment, for a lot of brothers out there. Because I think the level of that transparency that you just display just a moment ago, and I'm sure that there's a lot of brothers that could identify with that. So I really wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And
You're
for
welcome.
being a model. I think you're doing exactly what you were talking about earlier on. You're pouring into a lot of brothers right now as we speak, because I think there's a lot of brothers that could identify, and maybe even sisters that could identify with that. So let's look at that scenario very carefully. That moment that you just described can actually be described as a traumatic experience. Now, I don't like to use the word trauma very lightly, right? But we have come to learn a lot about trauma, maybe in the last, if you will, maybe post-World War, and particularly, with some of our folks that went to Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan for
PTSD,
war. So exactly, PTSD phenomena. But I want you to think about it. So the statement was made, so why are you here?
Yeah, why did you come?
Why did you come? And you, at that age, made an interpretation that what they said meant I'm not enough.
You're turning that curve again. I feel it. You're turning that curve again. This is good.
So oftentimes, and I hesitate to say this, oftentimes you can have two people that are exposed and witness to the same event, and each one of them will walk away with two different interpretations of that particular reality. And the interpretation is actually what becomes part of the wiring of our brains. That is what we repeat over and over and over. Remember what the good book says in Proverbs, whatsoever a man thinks
in his
heart, so it is. Not whatsoever happened to a man.
Wow.
Not whatsoever is done to a man, but whatsoever a man thinks in his heart, so is it. So our ability to recognize, right? And I see your wheel is turning.
It's turning a lot.
Our
I'm
ability to
tripping
recognize really what is the content of my thought. What are some of the experiences that have shaped the way that I look at life, the way that I think about myself, the way that I look at relationship. That is very important until we beginning to modify it or reframe our way of looking at life. Reframe. So in that situation, we could say, wow, they actually didn't recognize your value. So that was not your problem. That was their problem. But especially those experiences that happened to us early on in life, we tend to use the brain of a 10-year-old to understand that. And that stays with us way into our adult life.
Yeah.
In fact, if I may give you a quick example of this. This is a long story, but I'll give you an abbreviated version of it. So some years ago, I remember knowing someone, right? And they grew up in South America, and their father was a political figure, right? And there was a coup going on in that country. And so the father sent the mother and the kids to the neighboring country, right? And when they settled there, the father would say, I'm going to come see you, right? This person that I know was very, very close to his dad, very, very attached to his dad. So when they went to the neighboring country, he was missing his dad. And so when the dad would say, I'm going to come, he would wait hang on the window, waiting and waiting, and the dad will not come. And that happened several times. And finally, the dad said, I am going to come this time, And he hung on that window, looking and looking, and the dad never came. And he started crying. And he was crying and crying. He had an older brother that was 2 years older than him. Of course, he was going through his own challenges. And the whole older brother got in his face and said, shut up, right? Double trauma. And in that moment, this person made a decision in their mind. I will never allow this to happen to me again. So if I don't connect with my feelings, I will never experience this pain. Yeah. So they got married, and the wife said, I don't think you're human, you don't feel. And he said, I don't feel. Now, he believed that he didn't feel, but it wasn't that he wasn't feel. He couldn't feel. He could feel, but he had learned to develop a wall, a defense around because of what happened to him when he was around 5-6 years old. So he was still using the mind of a 5 years old, using it to operate even way into his 40s. You follow what I'm saying?
Oh, man.
So I have this example that I oftentimes tell people, right? When I was little, my daddy bought me some really nice shoes that I really like. I love to shine my shoe, make sure they look good. Well, guess what? I'm in my 50s now. I can get into those shoes. If I try to put on those shoes, I'm going to hurt somebody or hurt myself. Yeah. But we do that emotionally.
Yeah.
We still operate with the mind of a 5-6-year-old, even in our 40s. And the goal is to try to reframe those painful, difficult, challenging emotional experiences so that we can heal and move on towards the destiny that God has for us in our marriage, our relationship, and our families.
You know what I thought about, and you guys can, make comments and pose your questions, because in about a few minutes, we're going to answer some questions. I have a few, and we'll answer some questions, ask Dr. Kola some questions. And I see y'all talking about how, they want to get in contact with you, Doc. I mean, I know you're already booked and busy and what have you, but we just had to make it work. Maybe do more of this, so they can get more access to you. But can you wrap your mind around this? And I know you can, that most things are meaningless until we give them meaning.
I think you're right.
Oh, man. I mean, most things are meaningless. It's meaningless. It has no meaning at all until we give it meaning. So when your wife said, what did that mean?
Oh, she didn't like me. Oh, she ain't feeling me tonight. Oh, man, she tired tonight.
Yeah.
We imbued that particular interaction with meaning. So we are meaning-making animal.
Yeah. MMA.
We are
meaning-making
animal. Really. And the fact remains, the meaning that we make out of realities of life is actually one of the things that shape us at our core. I was going to give you an example earlier. You can have two people, right, go to Iraq or Afghanistan, witness the same event, and one comes back, become a drunk and homeless, and the other one comes back and become a senator. They witness the same event, and if you ask them, they might even suggest to you that what deeply shaped their vocation, their choices in life, right, is because of that experience.
Same experience.
The same experience, but the meaning that we make out of those experiences. Let's translate that into our personal life, into our relationships, and really into our cultural experiences. The meaning. I give you one more clue here. I tell people, we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are.
As we are, yeah. Yeah.
And you began this process, this conversation tonight. You talk about energy, right? Remember, you started us off.
That's good, yeah.
Really, who I am shapes what I see.
So the main question today would be, bruh.
Know yourself.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Hey, man, you might know what people say. You might know your mistakes.
Yes.
You may know your successes.
Yes.
But who are you?
Who are you?
Outside of the brands, outside of the anything, man, your sexual prowess and what they say,
Yes.
like, who are you? And that's something that we really got to determine. If you don't know you, wow, brother, wow. If you don't know you, hey, you really, it's going to really be hard to connect.
Absolutely.
So you got to be self-aware, and you got to know for sure. That MMA thing, I'm going to have to process that some more, because we do give meaning to it.
Animals, right?
You know, meaning making animals. Yes. So a father is sitting on the park bench with his daughter or some girl. She got on little jelly shoes. The dress is pink. These pigtails. I mean, it's a really cute scenery. And she's sitting on her dad's lap. He's bouncing her. She's laughing. I mean, that laugh is infectious. And two ladies are there. One lady is like, listen to the laugh. She's laughing, but at the same time, she's crying because it's so cute. Like, oh my God, I didn't have that. I wish my dad did that.
That's right.
And then another one is here angry.
That's right.
And sins.
That's right. That's right.
This jerk, this pedophile. Doesn't he know she's wearing a dress?
That's right.
Doesn't he know you don't play with a girl like that?
That's right.
So we give meaning to, oh my gosh, man.
Come on.
So how many of us in this COVID-19 era that we're in has looked at the same thing that someone else has looked at, and you took a different path? Do you know why we're in here? Let me tell you this. Do you know why we're in here in the content factory? Is because when COVID-19, the pandemic hit, I made a conscious decision that if the world is going to reset, then looks like to me we on the same playing field, Doc.
Yes, sir.
And so what I decided to do was I put my energy and my efforts and all my resources, when I say all, I mean ALL,
Yes, sir.
into creating this execution arm of Bo Enterprises, of ManUp Community Inc., so that we can have situations like this, so that I can pivot and I don't have to be the person that is so torn up about, yo, man, they took quite a bit of my salary. You know, man, 90% of my income from my business, personal business,
Yes.
went away.
Yes.
90%.
Yes.
So you have to make a decision, and I had to make a decision. Either I'm going to be pissed about that, I'm going to see the problem, or I'm going to delve into the possibilities. And that's what I did. And that's why we're here today.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to guys, as you're listening to me, man, you got a whole community here of brothers who want to do like you. We want to make some money. We want to make incredible money. If I can talk to you, my brother, not to the preachers out there, to you, my brother, we want to make FU money. If you know what FU money is, it's Faith University money, just in case you know, whatever. We want to do well. We want to be as happy as we've ever been. We want to go to islands that, you know, we didn't know existed, buy that island. You know, we want to enjoy times with our families. We want to hear our wife laugh a laugh, or our girl laugh a laugh. We never heard them laugh before.
Yes.
We want our kids to look at us with reverence and love us and say, yo, that's my dad. They still might not listen to you that well, but they still, you know, that's my dad, you know?
That's right.
And so it is a mindset. And that mindset begins, let's go back to this. I ask you, this is a question.
Sure.
That mindset begins first by what? Knowing yourself?
Yes.
Knowing yourself.
Knowing yourself. I really do. And I think it's important that you keep going back to this notion of knowing oneself, really, because I think it's a very, very big idea.
But what that person that said, what was that person that's saying, hey, man, you got to know yourself, but what about, hey, man, you got to know God. Just know God. Why are you trying to know you?
Actually, you know, I actually agree, because I believe there's a theologian that says that, you know, to know oneself is to know God, and is to know God is to know oneself, right? You know,
oh, that's good.
My theological training tells me, they say that, you know, theology cannot be separated from anthropology, and anthropology cannot be separated from theology, right? That they are intricately connected. You know, I mean, that's another subject.
So you mean, so the divine can't be separated from the human? Anthropology is
yes, absolutely. So if you think about it this way, really, who made us?
How about that? God.
Absolutely. So we came from God. And to whom do we return?
Ooh.
To God.
So you're saying
to know ourselves is to know our source. I used to teach youth Bible study at my church. I don't get a chance to do it, anymore because of my busy schedule. But I learned a lot from those young brothers and sisters. And one of the things during those years that I tried to impress along with my co-teachers at that time, to young people, is know who you are and know whose you are.
If
you know who you are and whose you are, yes, it doesn't mean that you'll be immune from the challenges of life, but you will navigate through it. Let me give you that popular psalm that says that, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of fill in the gap, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me.
Wow, man.
I'm not alone in this.
So, come on. It is coming into union with the God that is outside of us, but also
in us,
the God that's inside of us.
Absolutely. So I think you see that you keep coming back. Know thyself. Know you. Who you raised the question? Who are you? I think every brother listening to us tonight should take a moment to write this question down. Who am I? Now you just brought something to my attention, right? When I used to run substance abuse in those years, there's a question. Call it an exercise we used to have our clients do. They will write an essay, who am I?
Okay.
And I remember in those years, really some of the powerful essays that I've read from brothers reflecting on who they are. Because now, for us as Black men, really, to understand who we are in this society, so we cannot really not account for the history of race and racism, because for many centuries in this particular a nation, we have defined who we are by how other people define us. We have come to see ourselves based on how other people saw us, and so it is important. It is important to know who you are, separate and apart from what people think you are, right? In a number of my clients will hear me say this again and again and again, right? The value and the importance, critical importance, of knowing who you are. Years ago, I read a book written by Arthur Ashe, the late tennis player.
Oh, the Ashe, okay.
And Andrew Young did his premarital counseling, and in that book,
really?
yes, that's a new story for you. So he wrote in this book, and he says that during his premarital counseling with Andrew Young, he told him that there are 6 people in a relationship, and he said it has nothing to do with schizophrenia. He said the person that you are, the person that you think you are, and the person that other people see you to be.
And then you with somebody that feels the same way.
Come on now.
6 people in the relationship.
And if you are not clear about who you are, really are, and who you think you are, because a lot of the time who we think we are is really different from who we really are. That's why we get in trouble in relationships. And then who other people see us to be. You have to be familiar with those 3 realities as well as that of your partner. So you see why relationships are very difficult to navigate.
Too many people in there.
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 That whole I'm in love with more than one woman. We can't really use that one because it ain't really going. It's going to blow up in your face. So we're going to answer some of these questions. Some people have, hit us with some questions. I know one in particular. It's not on this list, but I won't say his name. He lost his daughter. We know where she is. Okay, we know where she is, but she's with her creator. But she's gone. She was very young, and he is having a very difficult time navigating those waters. He's riddled with guilt. I mean, he was there every day when she was in the hospital, but he left one day, and just to, I guess, to go freshen up. We've been there all night.
Yeah.
She died during that time. And he is like, he can't seem to find his way around it. And there are some other people, I'm sure, that have lost people.
Yeah.
This is his child, man. Like, how do you get past? How do you get over that? I mean, grief counseling is.
Yeah.
I don't have the words for it, man. I don't want
Absolutely.
to mess it up, but
Absolutely. Well, I really wanted to reach out to that brother and to say thank you for raising the questions, and thank you for the person that you were in the life of your child. Mr. Bowie just mentioned the critical importance of grief, really, and we live in a culture that does not honor grief. We ourselves wanted to move quickly on, or other people want to move us quickly from our grief. But I think it's important to give yourself permission to grieve, to feel all the range of emotions and feelings that are associated with your loss, and to not pathologize that. I think a lot of the time we tend to pathologize normal human sufferings. I'm in the field.
Break it down. Pathologize.
Yeah, we make normal human feelings abnormal, like the feelings that he was just describing. That is a natural consequence of having experienced a significant loss. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, right, was a psychologist that wrote books. She did a research in terms of grief, and she talked about the stages of grief that we actually go through. And oftentimes guilt is part of that. So there is nothing abnormal with some of the feelings that this brother is experiencing. What I will encourage him is, number one, is look for a very good therapist, that can sit with you and allow you to process your feelings, to process your experiences, to process your relationship with the person that you lost, so that again you can begin to develop meaning out of the loss, meaning that will enable you to develop hope and to move forward without feeling incumbent by the loss. I deeply believe, right, that grief and hope are on the same continuum. In fact, I will argue that those who cannot or will not allow themselves to grieve cannot experience hope. Have you ever seen people that they lost someone long time ago, but even though it's been long time ago, there's a way in which they experience that loss that feels like it happened yesterday, whether it's marriage, because they have not given themselves the permission to actually grieve. Our ability to grieve enables us. Now, grieve properly enables us to have hope for new possibility. There's one popular psalm that I love very much, right? And those that know me know that I recite this when it comes to grief. Say, by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat and did what? And wept when we remember Zion. Zion is whatever it is that we lost, that which was and is no longer. And biblical scholars will tell you that the Israelites' ability to grieve was what enabled them to do what happened in the book of Nehemiah, which is the rebuilding of Jerusalem. You see that? The ability to grieve is intricately connected with the ability to move forward. If you don't grieve, you're stuck, you're stagnant. The ability to grieve, and to grieve well, enables you to move forward, to have hope, and to see new possibility in your life and in your relationships.
Hey man, what were some things that we need to grieve? Maybe do we need to grieve? Do I need to grieve the 90% of my business that left? It probably won't ever come back. Do I need to grieve? Like what other than death do we need to grieve? So we just grieve loss?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So there's an exercise that therapists are known, for doing.
I never heard this before in my life.
Oh, yes, sir. In fact, so you can do a timeline, right? So, for example, from the age of 5 to 10, this is for an example. What are some of the losses that you've experienced? Whether it's daddy left, or mama left, or my best friend that I went to school with, we moved, I never saw him again. These are, sometimes really we take lightly the importance and the value of losses and grief. Remember I said earlier on, we are grief denying culture. We don't like to deal with grief. We don't like to explore our grief. And oftentimes we wonder why we feel stuck. Some people tell me, the same thing just keep happening all over again and again. Oftentimes that type of repetition, right, is linked to not walking through certain losses and grief in our lives. So you are absolutely right. Grieving is not just about loss of person. Sometimes we grieve the loss of a dream.
Wow, man. What you're not gonna do, you're not gonna mess me up here in this content factory on our initial day.
That's why we're here, brother.
Because there's parts of me, man, that's tightening up as you talk. Because I'm resistant.
I hear you.
To even open some of those mental doors.
Yeah.
Because I don't no. And so you tighten up and you say, nah, just get past it. But what you're saying is, and in David Dieter's book, he talked about that as well, Way of the Superior Man. He talks about that. Being able to feel what you feel.
Yes.
Don't wish for the end result. Don't wish to be past it. Don't wish for anything but to be right where you are and deal with it. If it's crying, if it is laughter, whatever it is, deal with it. Stay there. Not forever, but process it.
Yes, sir.
Let it run its course. And I'm talking loud like I got this. Man, I ain't had this. I ain't had this.
So let me share this if I may.
Wow, man.
I hope the brother is hearing us right with the question. I once told someone, I said, in the ancient world, they actually had what is called professional mourners. I think there's still some culture that do.
I heard about that. Yeah.
I remember telling that to somebody, and the person looked at me and said, man, Dr. Kola, you just made that up. No, I didn't. Because they recognize the value of mourning.
Yeah.
There's a book in the Bible that a lot of people probably are not familiar with. And it's not by accident that book is in the Bible. It's called Lamentation. It's right next to the book of Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Lamentation is another word for mourning. It's another word for grief. In the ancient world, they will hire, they will rent, they will employ professional mourners to come and help the family that has experienced loss to actually grieve, because they recognize if they don't process their grief, they will get stuck. So imagine for us as men, some of the losses that we've experienced in our lives that we not even allow ourselves to process. And I go back to the psalm that I quoted a moment ago. It says, by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat. We remain still. We sat with our feelings. How often do we want to say, man, I'm sad, man. Tell me something to do.
Let's go do something. Get about this, yeah.
Let's get a vodka. Let's go do some. Sitting with our feelings as therapeutic value. And I'm not saying that.
That sounds so soft. Oh my God. Can you imagine a bunch of guys in the room? Hey, player, let's go here, sit over here. Let's sit with our feelings. But how do you do that, man? Like, how do you do that?
So for those who participate in group therapy, that's what we do.
So this is it.
Yes, to have a community where you are. So how do we start this conversation? Being known, being seen and being heard.
Yeah.
If I don't know what you're feeling, how can I attend to your pain and your suffering?
That's good, Doc. Oh, man.
For all I see is you come on drunk,
Yeah.
And I'm not hearing what it is that is causing you this pain, this suffering, this discomfort. So for some reason, I find myself drawing from the Christian literature tonight. So I'm just going to stick with this.
Come on, man. You're a preacher. Come on, do it.
So, so it says, blessed are those who mourn.
Blessed are those who mourn.
For they shall be what?
I forgot.
Comforted.
That's right.
In order to receive comfort, you have to be what? Be willing to
mourn.
If you deny your mourning, guess what?
You won't be comforted.
Woo!
Wow, man. All right. So we're at the end of this, man, but I don't think that we need to move past this moment. Can you make an appeal to the guys to find that thing that you need to mourn, find that thing that you need to grieve? Because there's some things, some stuff need to be buried after it is properly mourned.
That's right.
And anything that's not buried or that's stayed out longer than what it should is going to carry an odor. And sometimes, I ain't talking about nobody else, I'm talking about me.
Yes, sir.
I can tell you that some of the stinking things that I have experienced has been because I know it in my mind. And if I was by myself now, man, I could really process this well. I know it's because I haven't dealt with it. I haven't stayed there, sat
with it,
mourned it properly.
Absolutely.
And then told it what to do after that.
Yes.
Because I don't think that we're supposed to perpetually mourn. No, there is a time and a season to mourn. Absolutely. Time to cry.
Absolutely.
Then time to stop crying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in fact, really, my contention is that when we give ourselves permission to grieve properly, in fact, that enables us to move forward. If it is when we don't grieve properly that we get stuck.
You got to give yourself permission.
Exactly. Really, the ability to move forward is intricately connected with the willingness and ability to actually grieve.
Man, if you go back and you look at this comment section, man, these guys, man, they're loving you, and we love you, man. I don't know, bro. We need to find a way to make this something that we do on an ongoing basis, some kind of way. I mean, we ain't got to do it for an hour and a half. Maybe we create a podcast. We can call it, I don't know what we can call it. We can call it, healing, something. It's got to be kind of a hard name though, because
they can help us.
Yeah. What does the name of our podcast need to be? Like, what should the name be? Just
absolutely.
Put it in the comment section and let us know. But Dr. Kola, I appreciate you, man. More than I say. Yeah. You don't get paid anywhere near what your worth is. And I know we talked about this. All right, we talked about this.
Yes.
I really think that your gift, you meeting people one-on-one, that's dope. But all these people that was on today, you literally met with them one-on-one.
Amen.
And they're healed. So, I'd like to see you in maybe arena when the world opens up. Without the commercialization of it, we can make sure that they ain't got, we can keep it near the cross.
Absolutely.
But bro, your touch is incredible.
Yeah.
The way you say stuff and the way you respond, and man, we all feel better. And y'all, if y'all know what I'm talking about in the comment section, hopefully he'll go back and look at this. Tell him what tonight meant for you. Even give some, maybe some examples of how it blessed you, or how it opened you up, or how it gave you a perspective that you didn't have before. And we will do these more and more often with Dr. Kola, with other people, but I want to make sure that I give you, my brother, some real substance. And every Monday, you can look forward to us being here. Maybe not me and Dr. Kola, unless that's what you want to do.
That's right. We talk about it.
We talk about it, okay. But we want to make sure that that you can turn into us, and we can give you that substance that you need.
Amen.
Because we're gonna be all right.
Amen.
You know what I mean?
Amen.
We're gonna be fine.
Absolutely.
We're gonna overcome a lot of stuff, and we're gonna make some money.
Amen.
Now, you may not be on that. You like money. Don't you like money. But we're gonna make some money. Our businesses are gonna do well. We're gonna create new businesses.
Amen.
And I believe that we're gonna take the lid off of
there you go.
ourselves. We're gonna live boldly. We're gonna live powerfully.
Amen.
We're not letting nothing stop us. Not from this point on. Nothing will stop us.
Nothing.
We're gonna win.
Amen.
So, Dr. Kola,
yes.
Any parting words?
Well, I think the essence of what you and I have been talking about today, and before I actually do so, I really wanted to thank you for this amazing opportunity. Really, I feel humbled, and blessed to be in your company every time we meet. And so thank you for giving me this platform and opportunity to speak into brothers' life, because I know there's a lot of brothers that are listening to us tonight. And my hope is that each one of the brothers and maybe even sisters that are listening to us, continue to do the work of being known, the work of being seen, and the work of being heard. And more importantly, to identify those areas of our lives where we need to actually sit and allow ourselves to process our grief, because our ability to have hope for the future is intricately connected with our ability to grieve. Yeah. And when we grieve, guess what? We can deepen not only our own lives, but our own relationships. And we can continue to broaden ourselves and broaden our relationships. So I thank you one more time. And I thank to all the brothers that are listening or watching us. And I pray that we continue to prosper in each of our lives, and as well as in our relationships. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And I thoroughly enjoyed.
So a big question. People want to know how to get in contact with you. I mean, I know your schedule is ridiculous. Maybe it takes these to be able to service as many people as you can service, because you're only one man.
Absolutely.
So what does that process look like realistically for the person that wants to get in contact with you?
And you're absolutely right. I have tremendous colleagues, that I train with, that I respect and love, and value their work. I wish you would
transfer me to somebody else.
And so it's many of us. But just in case people want to make contact with me, the telephone number to the office is 678-291-9029. 678-291-9029. You can also reach us on the website. It is nhccinc.org. New Horizon Counseling Center, and we're located in Norcross, Georgia. The second office is actually located in Marietta, Georgia, and we're affiliated, if I may say this, with Turner Chapel AME Church.
Hey, that's right.
The best church on this side of Zion.
Yeah,
really, with
wonderful
pastor, Pastor Bright. So that's where our second office is located. We're not currently seeing people in person. All the sessions are done virtually. We provide, virtual sessions through Zoom as well as FaceTime. And so feel free to contact us. And if there's no room for us to help you, we'll be more than happy to connect you with some qualified therapists that will be willing to journey with you as you begin the process of healing and recovery and transformation.
Love it. I got to give you, I know you're busy, but I got to give you the guy I was talking about. I really want to hand deliver him to you and work through that piece of it, because he's a good dude and I love him. Hey, man, that's it. Appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir.
We about to dominate. We got to do more than say win. We're going to do more than win. We're going to dominate it. We're going to do well, and we're going to live. We're going to thrive. And we're going to be happy, and our energy is going to be up, and we're going to make a lot of money. Faith University money. Woo-hoo. Oh, come on. There we go. Until next time, family. I love you. I mean it. Man up.
Amen.
I appreciate you.
You're wonderful, man. You're the best. Really.
I don't know if I'm the best. I might be over there with you.
Wow.
This is good, man.